says you're ready. Click here to start streaming. Let's go live here. Okay, so, alright, so hopefully, oh yes, so it looks like we're live here. Again, there's usually a delay. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start in the chat. I am Christine, State Coordinator, and I am on Gibson County. Please go ahead and put in. Welcome, Lake. John, welcome. Alright, so that means I've clicked in, I'm seeing a comment, so that means, alright, so things are working, woohoo! Alright, we're gonna master this AI, whether it thinks it wants to let us do it or not. Okay, so, on the YouTube description, I have the link to the presentation, and that way you can be able to pull it up. And let me get over here. So, and please, if there's if you can't hear me, let me know. If there's any other tech issues, I have not started screen sharing yet. So, and again, there's the delay, the lag that's on YouTube. Got it. Awesome. Okay, great. Okay, so that way, if you're not able to see the presentation, you can still be able to pull it up and see what I am going through. All right. So let's go ahead. Others will be coming in. We went ahead and got things going there, so they should be able to put in their comments. There is the train. There's no rhyme or reason to the train schedule here, so even I literally spent like 2 weeks trying to map the train schedule, but of course that was also before the strike that went on. Anyway, but I tried to determine some rhyme or reason to the train schedule and was not able to get that mastered. So it's and it's because we have a lot of coal that they're shipping out, hauling out, but in and out, I guess. But anyway, there's no schedule to it, so there's going to be that. All right, so we'll do the best we can. We just keep right on rolling. Let me go ahead and get the display going. And I can minimize me. You don't need to see me as much. We'll get me over here. All right, so I should still be able to see this and do the presentation. If you're not, it'll take a moment for it to load, but you should still be able to see it. And I'm not going to be able to see any comments that way, so let me, let's go, well, it's not showing those comments there either. So we're still working through tech issues, trying to figure out how that's going to work, because I'm actually I have my browser tab open with YouTube going as well, but it's not. Oh yeah, it is going in OBS. Awesome. So it is there. Okay. All right. So we'll go ahead and get things going. I'll just stop worrying about that so much. It'll come together as it comes together. Alright, so again, so if you do have a question, put in the comment, may I, or go ahead and put your question down in there. Okay. But do lead with which county on Indiana that you're on. Okay, this is a public meeting. Anyone in this meeting claiming any form of U.S. citizenship or employment with any federal agency is now for the next segment of this gathering new member orientation class invited to either declare your presence and business here, or we ask you to leave the class at this time. I will repeat, if you are a U.S. citizen or an undeclared federal agent, please raise your hands or vacate our gathering. For the third and final time, this is notice that if you don't respond appropriately to this Bivens decision immediately, you're made fully liable for your lack of disclosure, and any so-called evidence that you collect is tainted and inadmissible. And just want to state that if you came to this call because you're receiving email information connecting with the assembly, you've at least connected in, so we are trying to work with supporting you. Preferably, you should have already had at least your 1779 2 witness testimonies and birth certificate for this training, but it is on YouTube. It wasn't set with a Zoom, so that you can start getting an idea of what this is like. So maybe this will help encourage you to want to help support the assembly and get on the ball with getting your paperwork on the record. Okay, so, and no one can attend any of our meetings in secret or in private without answering to a roll call or without announcing or declaring their presence. So that's why I lead with go ahead and get your, hey Jeff, welcome, Marion County. All right, thank you. So that's why we say go ahead and get your name and county in there, and we can, and then that way you also can get to know each other. It's a great way to connect. You can be able to message YouTube message with each other to be able to connect. I'm trying to give opportunities, hopefully that it shows the chat as well in the recording, so you guys all get that, but it should somewhere put that. I haven't had a chance yet to go back and look at it through YouTube, but anyway, we'll keep moving forward. Alright, so new member participation orientation. This is week 3. This is an exciting one, an exciting week to go through on this training here. We're going through the assembly structure, which are the 4 pillars. Many have been on previous General Assembly calls that are on the off Sunday. And we go through and identify that there are the 4 pillars. So we're going to go in more depth here with the 4 pillars and what all is required for those to be able to support them. The types of assembly officers that are available, and go through assembly etiquette. All right. So the previous call, this is a review, summary review of it. The Belcher safeguard put in place by the founders allowed the assemblies to be called into session after a long slumber. The Federation has oversight authority until a state is fully assembled to ensure the protection of all Americans upon the land and soil. This is a question on the final knowledge review. Everyone needs to consider why they are a part of the assembly and why they corrected their status. Did anyone think about that from the call the week before, of thinking about what is it? Do you want to be a part of the assembly? Why did you correct your status? If you wanted to go ahead and share, you can share in the comments. I will periodically check and read the comments if you're open for that too. Land, air, and water jurisdictions. So so we discussed, we went through the differences between the land, air, and water jurisdictions. The air is controlled by the Pope, which is municipal. It's global and universal. That's also municipal. That's literally right in your town, right next door. Those are your municipal offices at this point, right? Your police departments, corporations, when they incorporate, they become part of the municipal. Then there's the sea, which is controlled by the British Crown. That's territorial. It's international, and that's from a continental jurisdiction on the land and soil, and when we interact with it. And that's primarily like real estate tax, right? That's the actual property. Then there's the land jurisdiction. That's us Americans, and we're a group of nation states that create the union under the public law. Okay, so many of us have, we've got that programming of, well, Kentucky's just a little bit south, or we can just head on over to Illinois or if we wanted to head up a little bit further for Michigan or go over to Ohio, it's just like, going to see the neighbor. But we have to get in the perspective that it is another nation that is actually crossing international lines at that point. Think of it as the collective states that they have of Europe, the European Union, right? So we've got to start thinking, even though we see them as our neighbors because we're Americans, we're brothers and sisters, and we're neighbors, they're actually international to us, and so we need to think about that. Okay. Excuse me. All right. And so we continued on, and we identified American state citizen status requirements and American state national requirements. Okay, so in this one, we're going to go through these requirements. Then we're going to, of what the citizen status is and national requirements as active participating participants with the assembly. Okay, so while you have every right to declare whether you're an American national or an American citizen with only the BC 2 witness testimonies and either the 1779 one-pager and or the 928s, you can make that choice as being to be called as a citizen at that point. However, being an American state citizen, it is not like a U.S. citizen where you just fill out some papers and then you can call yourself a citizen 24/7. And actually being a state citizen and a state national are actually action terms. Means you have to do something to meet requirements, and then you actually have to do things to serve. It's not just to give you that title and that credit and that recognition of being the American state citizen or American state national. You actually have to do some work for that. And then if you want it given to you, you know right where you can go. You already know the process real quick to be a U.S. citizen. You already got that down. You can go right over there. But we have actual work that has to be done here. And to claim as state, national, and state citizen, those are action requirements. And we're seeking those that are actually going to participate, not just be flies on the wall to sit around and see what others are doing. Not just to sit around and see how far they can go and how far they can get others to give them as much information and they haven't actually verified who they are. Okay, so this is not about being sneaky and slimy. You got to come in. You're actually going to have to do some work. It's merit based. It's not based on popularity. It's actually based on doing performing the actual functions. And if you're not going to perform the functions, then you can be removed, and others will be elected in to be able to support that are willing to do the job. All right, because we've got a timeline here to correct this and we're not going back just so others can be able to appease their egos. So then we're going to go into describing the assembly structure, the breakdown of the 4 pillars that we go through, that we've been going through each of the assemblies, and that will be a question on the final knowledge review. Then we're going to go into etiquette during General Assembly meetings and large committees, points of orders, how to be able to handle your, what kind of attitude, behaviors that are expected, that we're seeking at this point. Because what's been experienced has not been valuable, has brought us to a horrible situation. It's done nothing but sugarcoat everything and allowed the demons to come right in and take everything over. So at this point, it's time we're going to do things the right way. Don't think that you're any different. Don't think that you get to skip over any steps. If you're wanting to actually step up as a citizen into an office role, you're going to have to follow that. You're going to have a background check. There's going to be some roles that will require Federation vetting as well. So if you're not up for that, then don't even bother to step up. You're just wasting our time. And if you're looking to try and waste our time, you'll be found out. It'll be revealed really quickly, okay? Because we don't have time for games. So those that don't actually end up doing anything, it gets noticed real quick. Even if they're on every call, they show up for every call. But when there's a live event that comes, they're nowhere to be found. Albeit life happens. We do get that there are times when work is involved. But there are things that, there's other ways to be able to support, to be able to make sure that those events happen as well. There's other ways to support. Okay? So participation means that participation. So you're more than welcome with the 1779 2 witness testimonies, birth certificate, to come to the YouTube calls, still be able to get to see things as what's going on, learning things like that, still be able to come to those face-to-face events that you're wanting to, but actually being on assembly calls and getting involved with committees means you will have to actually participate. No way of getting around it. Okay, and then we will discuss the participation agreement. Alright, so originally the power went from the soil, which is the counties, to the land, the states. This meant that the counties used the states of the Union as an interface with other nations. So other nations, as like with, say, for example, Ohio, Michigan, Kentucky, other states, our nation, other nations to us, right? This was done to prevent any one country from aligning itself with another nation, other states, or foreign countries. Okay? Right now, we're working in the opposite direction. The state assemblies need to be stood up, and as we repopulate the state assembly, the counties are repopulated. Eventually, the county assemblies will meet more than the state assembly when the state is stood up. Because then the counties are actually going to be doing a lot of local level work as well. Okay, so American state citizen or American state nationals. American state nationals, Americans born within the borders of a state, acquire their nationality at birth. And that's a state. It does not say a state or a territory or possession. It's one of the 50 states. Americans born within the borders of a state acquire their nationality at birth. So Floridian, I was born on Florida, so that state is Florida. I'm a Floridian. Okay, so then there are those that are naturalized U.S. citizens, can declare their status as an American state national. Okay, so technically those born on other countries, their nationality is, for example, if they were born on Germany, they would be German. But then they're adopting a U.S. state as their nationality. So their adopted state would be Indiana, right? Because they're now living on the land. And you have to be living on the land now to even be able to be a state citizen or national. Many get this confused. They think that they only need to present to Indiana because they were born here. Many do not understand that it's about current standing. Where on the land do you stand today is where you're presenting. Because that's where you're going to give your support. That's where you're going to be committed to, because that's where you're standing. That's where you're living. That's where it's affecting your life. So that's where you're going to work to focus, to build, to do the course correction. We remain American state nationals until the age of 21, when we can choose to act as state citizens if there are no dual loyalties or dual citizenships. Okay, whereas a U.S. citizen can be a citizen to anybody and everybody and is just a puppet and can do whatever, be anywhere, do whatever it is they want to do. But that's not what a state citizen. A state citizen is only loyal to that state that they currently live on. All right, let me check any comments. All right. So, American state citizens. The word citizen always implies an obligation to serve some level or form of government, and it is no exception here. When we're old enough to accept the responsibility and understand the obligations involved, we become eligible to act. Eligible doesn't mean we just can assume it. We become eligible to act as citizens of our state of the Union. As state citizens must be free to make decisions impacting their state and its international relations with other nation states with a clear mind and open conscience, unaffected by mixed loyalties to any other master, dual loyalties and dual citizenships. State citizens voluntarily occupy an office of personhood in order to serve the interests of the international jurisdiction of their state of the Union. Okay? So, when you don't want to do all the paperwork, and then you don't want to go through the process of going through then and presenting yourself then to the assembly to be put on the ballot for an election, go through background check, go through vetting, go through all of that process, but you want others to do that, but you still want to serve, how are you bringing forward anything better? And really, why don't you want to follow, to make sure that we're all clear and on the same page as to who you are? Right? What's wrong with, why do you want to hide that? Okay, assembly structure. All right, the 4 pillars. This is what the setup of the assembly structure, the every other Sunday night structure is based on. So we have a foundational understanding. We're not building a corporation, so corporate business structures do not apply here. We're committee based, so that means everyone working together in self-governance for the betterment of their community. We work by committees to achieve this harmony. Each state assembly consists of one body politic composed of all declared state nationals and state citizens living within the boundaries of each state. Anyone who qualifies by birthright or by legal naturalization processes and who lives in a state on a permanent basis and declares and records their political status as a state national or state citizen so long as they remain in honor. Okay? So here are the pillars. Each state assembly is organized to perform 4 functions. So the pillars are actually functions that help support the structure. So the functions have to actually take place for the structure to be up, right? So there's the General Assembly. This provides a public discussion and decision forum for intrastate business and acts as a committee of the whole to decide issues of general interest, conducts elections, and provides oversight for all assembly functions. 2. The International Business Assembly, which is composed entirely of state citizens, conducts the international business of the assembly. And then here's a link to see the federal record that there have been three times the International Business Assembly has met thus far. The third pillar is the Jural Assembly, provides the court services and oversees the grand jury, trial juries, officers, and functions of our American courts. Okay? You gotta get through the General Assembly to get to the Jural Assembly. You don't have to do the Business Assembly to be a participant on the Jural Assembly. And you don't have to be a participant with the militia to be a participant on the Jural Assembly. But you gotta go start with the General Assembly. Okay? That's how people also do get to know you, because while it is merit based, at some point the General Assembly that's going to be voting you into these service roles, they would like to know who they're voting in, right? It would be nice to see them to know who it is that's wanting to come into these roles, right? Present yourself honorably. Then there's the Militia Assembly. This is, and to the public, is called the Community Response Team. Okay? This is focused on promoting public safety within the boundaries of their county and their state, and is the well-regulated militia guaranteed to each state and county for its internal security. All right, go a little bit deeper in here. All right, the General Assembly. These meetings are public meetings. If there is any private or sensitive interstate business, the agenda is split and the public portion is closed so that any state nationals and state citizens participate. Right now, we don't have private business. Regular assembly meetings are scheduled and posted in advance. We currently are meeting bi-weekly. It is the opposite of these Sunday night calls. So these are still assembly type calls, but these are based on training, where then now next Sunday will be assembly directly, where it gives updates of the information of what's going on and presenting any new information. Okay. Pardon me while I take a drink. Alright, we have points of order. The rules of conduct for the Indian Assembly have been adopted and are discussed in the etiquette part of the presentation. The General Assembly is a committee of the whole. All other committees are subcommittees. All subcommittees are formed in the General Assembly, where everyone has a chance to join the committee. Okay, so the importance of the General Assembly. Okay, it's important that you come to the General Assembly calls, because that keeps you connected with those with the General Assembly, keeps you connected with the committees and subcommittees. Right now, the Federation coordinators moderate General Assembly meetings, so that's why you see me as leading the assembly and training calls. Okay, so now here's some more meaty information about the recommended committees. So and who can serve on these committees? Okay, so there's the General Education Committee, and that is ASN and ASC, papered and armored up participants needed. So And if you'll see at the bottom, papered up. So at least if you've presented your birth certificate, 2 witness testimonies, and the 1779 declaration, to be able to at least help support with the General Education Committee, because even though you don't have that general education knowledge yet, there's a lot of things that you can be able to do to support, like finding locations of where we could be able to get together, right? To be able to have a place for those in the area and the community to be able to come to a live general education call. It could be helping to support getting educational materials printed and getting it sent out to the 2 other nationals within the assembly. Things like that. Produce educational materials and programs for the general membership and public. Then there's the new member orientation committee. This too, ASN, ASC, papered up and armored up participants, because these are roles that many things can be done to be able to help support to do this. If you're wanting to lead, you're going to have to be armored up. You're just going to have to deal with that. If you want a better world, then you need to help course correct yourself too. That means don't ask for somebody to have all of their paperwork and show exactly who they are and toe the line and everything if you're not going to do it yourself. That's not right. So that's something that if you want to be in these types of roles, then you're going to follow through with armoring up and going through the process correctly, presenting yourself honorably as to who you are. And please don't be afraid of background checks. Okay? Many get leery of a background check and think that, oh, it's got to be horrible. Okay, so think about it. This is land and soil jurisdiction. If you did not cause bodily harm, if you did not, injure someone, if you did not cause property damage, if you didn't do, harm someone using force, that kind of thing, why is that so much of an issue? We know that it's all been a taxing scam, right? So think about it. There's, just because you may think it would, you may not have been accepted somewhere else doesn't mean that it's not going to be accepted here, land and soil jurisdiction. If you did do something that you do realize it was a silly mistake and you're visibly working to atone for it, and it's been a while before you've, had that type of experience, you're also finishing up your responsibilities, because if you got locked into a situation, figuratively and literally, or you have a probation period or whatever, things like that, you're still going to have to finish out those things because you were already in it, right? Some things are not retroactive. All right, some of that stuff, if you're already in it, you're at a point you're going to have to at least finish it out before you can move forward. But at least as a American State National, you can at least still be able to keep up with the information, with what's going on with the assembly. You may not be able to be actually on the committees as you're still peeling out, but still it depends on what it is. Again, right? Pardon me. As we're coming into spring, I get thirstier. All right. Which is so exciting because spring is right around the corner. It's Tuesday. Woo! All right. Okay, so for new member orientation committee, they provide support and educational guidance for new members to overcome prior indoctrination, fear, and dependency issues. You remember what it was like. Many of you are still experiencing. Some of us have some things that we still experience. Those feelings still rise up because there's some little bit of testing, of some little tweaking we still have to do to course correct ourselves too. And this is ways that it helps us remember how to work through those fears, right? And these are key tools to help you moving forward positively, clearly, and knowingly into the right direction. All right, then events committee. Also, ASN, ASC, papered up, armored up participants, plans and executes events, meetings, and elections setup. Okay, now if you'll notice, I've got asterisks there. As you can see at the bottom, it has with the asterisk that some roles, even offices, will include the following: a General Assembly election, background check, and Federation vetting. Okay, all right. And some roles are as ASN, but you still have the requirements to meet that we'll be going through within this document. All right, so records committee, ASN and ASC. Now here, armored up participants, not papered up, because records committee, that's not very balanced, and that doesn't seem right if the ones that are the records committee overseeing to ensure that the records are correct, if they haven't even completed their own records, right? How does that stand? All right, so then there is the Treasury Committee, and the Treasury Committee assists and oversees Treasury functions. All right, and if you're having tech issues, that happens, just keep coming back in, and we'll keep going, and of course the recording will be there. It does help though if you're able to stick out being in the call as live as long as possible. Okay, other committees. There are the Oversight Committee, provides general oversight and forum for complaints. And it's towards complaints towards the de facto and corporations out there. Ombudsman Committee. ASN, ASC, armored up participants needed, can be in addition to outreach and communications until we need this to stand as a separate committee. Outreach and communications connecting somewhat together because we do need to create a master communications network to be able to can have an actual flow and communication of all those that are considered state nationals, state citizens, to have a master communications network. And that's what we're working with using at this time. It's Voxer. It is a free tool, and as we have those that are armored up and go through the process, we'll be able to add them as members to be as partners on the business account and all that stuff. Anyway, but Voxer is free. That's a way that we can be able to do some quick connecting. Committees can be able to connect directly with each other. Nationals can connect directly with each other. But that way we can also have a main location for network communications. We can share files there. It is a form of a walkie-talkie type of service. You can use it through your cell phone as well as through your web browser. You can upload files, do it as a live video call. There's many things, and that's all still within the free. Okay. All right. So, and that will be until a communications committee stands up and decides if that would be something different to be able to move forward. At least it's a start to get something to at least start getting that chain of communication. Okay, so this is a preferred thing. This is not a, well, I'll see how that tool will work to see if I'm willing to try using it. At some point, we need to have a master line of communications that's more than just the email service, but a way that we can be able to still connect with each other. Okay? So it's not a, well, I'm going to do some things and you still are hands off from me kind of thing. At this point in time, I'm still here to be mainly in helping to guide things are still moving forward. okay? Because things have to get on path and on target. Yes, you will have leeway as you're working to figure out things to help support this, but at some points in time, you're going to have to still follow the, stay connected with assembly and follow those processes, things like that. All right. So, and as we can see, though, there's a lot of work that has to be done, and that's what frightens many people, because they don't want to actually have to do the work. They really would like to just be able to ride along with everything else, and, it's something other than U.S. citizen. And, but freedom is not free. You have to do some work to build that, to make that happen. All right, General Vetting Committee. Okay, so here we go. Oversight Committee provides general oversight and forum for complaints. Ombudsman Committee provides communications, outreach, conflict resolution, and arbitration services. Vetting Committee approves and reviews candidate eligibility for certain positions. General Elections and Quorum Committee, ASN, ASE, Armored Up Participants Needed. Handles notices and candidate publications, sets dates, promotes participation in elections, provides ballots, poll watchers, and ballot security. Excuse me. So this is a great tool for you to be able to look at, see what it is you're interested in supporting, so that you at least have focus, direction on what you need to do to be able to support that, so that you're not just wondering, well, what is it? How do I do that? But it's also so you aren't just saying, well, you have your name on a committee and you've done nothing. Okay, so we've actually got movement that needs to happen. So this is direction on what can be used to do to support those committees. General Elections and Quorum Committee. Again, armored up participants needed, because these are our general elections and quorum. So we want to make sure that these are all armored up. They don't have any allegiances to anyone else, any other country, or corporation. General Elections Quorum handles notices and candidate publications, sets dates, promotes participation in elections, provides ballots. Ballot security. Office of the Marshal at Arms ensures safety and decorum at all meetings and events. Caretakes the flag. Works with the Elections Committee to ensure secure ballots. Okay. All right. The second pillar, International Business Committee, the standing committee. Business assembly meetings are relatively rare events at first, but become increasingly important going forward, especially as the state of Indiana unincorporated is established. For example, there's been many things that we probably, as the state of Indiana, had the business assembly citizens been standing with this pillar and have this portion standing, we could have been reaching out to Ohioans to be able to help support them through this. But we weren't able to do that because we did not have enough standing citizens to be able to provide that. But that's just, I don't mean that to be as, to say feel bad. No, but it's as an example of a way that it could be used, of ways to be able to support other nation states. Okay, and that's where the business committee could, because it's international, they still could have been able to reach out to Ohio and see if there was anything that the militia could do to be able to come and support, to help, or things like that. So those are just some things, just some of the things that could be able to help. These meetings are open to state citizens who are the only ones with the standing to vote on international and interstate business under considerations. This committee is composed of state citizens and is responsible for conducting international business for the Assembly, including setting up the State of Indiana organization needed to complete reconstruction of the Confederation and Federal Republic. So please note, this is a serious role that we're playing at this point in time. This is not just to hang around, come once a week to go to see what everybody's doing. We may, it's nice to gain new information, but not really actually commit to providing any support. We're at that time that it's time to make some changes. And these are huge ways that you can be able to make history, change the record, course correct right here. These are ways that you can do it. Welcome, another one from Lake County. Lake County is growing. My goodness. I have another one that I've got a call for tomorrow that's Lake County. And I did just get paperwork from another. Lake County is growing. Okay, welcome. You'll see that that John's on the call too from Lake County. So you'll be able to see each other in the chat. All right. Welcome. Okay, I'll get back over here. Okay. So additional committees for the Business International Assembly would be International Security and Education Committee. Reads and assesses international and global news trends, keeps up with security issues and concerns. This committee is briefed and on international issues impacting the states of the Union, may make presentations and recommendations to the General Assembly. This one right here, this is a huge one. If you're one that has been on top of what's going on in the news that it directly affects Indiana and states locally, things like that, this is key information. I just watched a video yesterday. The reason why State of Indiana Corporation was a part of all of the DVOS and everything is because the state of Indiana has one of the banks, one of their banks, head banks. So that's why that's why Indiana was sitting there. That could have been something that the International Business Assembly could have brought forward to the General Assembly, and a letter campaign could have been sent out to State of Indiana, the corporation, to say that Indianians did not agree with you participating with the DVOS groups, right? I probably better be careful. I'm not one to censor. It's kind of hard for me to filter myself. So we'll see how that goes. That's because I have a lot of fire. I'm fire dominant in my my astrology chart. So it's a little hard for me to censor myself sometimes. All right. So then there is the Congressional Committee. This is the vetting of candidates for congressional offices in the Continental Congress. So we have to have all the states' assemblies up at that point. Not just Indiana's, because the state assembly is considered up when all four pillars and all counties have been populated. Okay, so that's the target, that's the goal. Okay, that's the goal for real business to happen. That's also the goal that allows the coordinator's role to sunset, because then at that point, that's when you are standing up. You've earned the right then to be able to walk forward in course correcting State of Indiana unincorporated organization to support Indianians. Okay, so the Congressional Committee That's not needed at this point because it's not going to be until all the state's assemblies are up and the state of and Indiana's, all 4 pillars for Indiana have to be up and all counties have to be populated. And we're about a third of counties populated at this point. All right. So, and with this, so vetting of candidates for congressional offices in the Continental Congress, and once the Reconstruction is complete, we'll also vet candidates for the United States congressional delegates, will receive nominations, publish election notices, conduct elections for these offices, provides ballot security, and announces the election results. Okay, so the congressional committees, then once those are able to stand up, then those will be carried on ongoing, moving. Some of these committees will be lifetime committees. Not that you will have a lifetime role, because that's not what these are for. That's what's happened with the U.S. was that the officials, public officials, officers, took it as a lifetime role, as a career. And these are not supposed to be lifetime roles. But the committees themselves are committees that will be committees of the whole. So they're going to be standing committees all the time. But they'll have revolving people through time. But should not have long-term people on those committees. Okay. The General Assembly. This is the one everybody really wants to. Thank you, John. Thank you so much. It's so not. I want to take a moment. It is so nice to hear because many are still. I do get that they're still bogged down in all the fear, and it is. They do feel like they're in situations where it's kind of hard to move, even to make those first steps with just even the base pieces of paper. And that's where we have to be able to, they're looking for someone to help, because they keep coming back because they want help to have that push. They need help to be able to help spark their spine's growth, to be able to start making that movement. And at the same time, I'm not here to coddle anybody's feelings either. I'm here to help get it is what it is. It's not about anybody's fault. It's about course correcting. It's time to get on and move with it. If you really don't want to do it and you're just coming up with excuses, that's on you. You're only delaying yourself. But we can talk it out and work our way through it to help you figure out and make things, and we'll get through the paperwork. The paperwork can seem hard, but it's just a short window of a hurdle. And once you get through that paperwork, you will start feeling the difference. And you'll start being able to step up to support in these roles. Okay. And that's where it's about reminding, yes, we do want to be grateful to each other, show each other respect, but we also don't want to be so where it's that we put showing respect above allowing a lie to pass. Right? We don't want to allow something that isn't right to just consent to it just so nobody's has to be mean or be considered not nice. We've got to be able to point that out, and we may not be able to always do that in the nicest way for others, because there are others that they're still going through some emotional things. So it's going to, they'll take it differently, or, we all have different stages that we're in. So we're here to help each other, but we can't hold each other. We can't carry the burden of each other's emotions for what they're going through to be able to hold us back too. We're here to help them, and if they're not willing to make the steps to move forward, that's on them. All we can do is continue moving forward and chugging through ourselves, being that example. Eventually, if it's meant to be, Spirit will lead them back. Okay, General Assembly meeting, because that's why it takes some work to get through this paperwork. And to get through the vetting process. It takes a lot to get through these different stages. Okay, so General Assembly meetings are organized by the active ASC members of the General Assembly, all of whom are qualified jurors, able to serve on both the grand jury and trial juries, or as officers of the courts. Okay? So they have to be able to, because if they're going to serve as an officer of the court, they have to be armored up and be able to step up in the capacity as a citizen in that time as they're an officer. Excuse me. Jurors. General Member Assembly Participant Agreement and Letter of Intent to join General Assembly on the Assembly record. And you have to be armored up participant. You can be a national or a citizen, but you have to be armored up as a juror. And the time you're serving as a juror, I think it does change at that point too as a citizen, but there's no election process. It's not like you have to go through an election to be put on the ballot to be a juror. But for the roles, the officials roles, yes, those have to go through a ballot, and then there's background checks on that. But the jurors are not doing a background check unless they're doing another role that they're stepping up for as well. And you can serve as a juror, but you wouldn't be able to serve as in an office as a juror while you're serving office in another. Can't do dual officers. Okay, officers will include a General Assembly vetting and election, background check, and Federation vetting. And they are ASC armored up participants for officer roles. Okay. So then here are additional recommended committees for the General Assembly. There's the court venue. Seeks accommodations for the courts to hold session, negotiates uses of our public buildings for this purpose, serves notice that our public courts are restored, invokes ex parte Milligan to US 71. Right? So that's going to be the court venue committee's responsibility. Right? Law Education Committee evaluates educational opportunities to familiarize members of the Assembly about our public law and its administration, past and present. And then there's the Jury Pool Committee. Develops pools of competent and eligible jurors to serve on both trial juries and grand juries. Administers selection of jurors, reimbursement of expenses, and other issues related to maintaining and caring for jurors. Court Oversight Committee provides necessary oversight for the public court system and its operations to ensure fairness and proper procedures, investigates claims of malfeasance and incompetence or bias. All right. Also with the General Assembly is the Sheriff's Committee. So all the sheriffs, pay attention if you're interested in participating, supporting as a sheriff. The Sheriff's Committee is through the General Assembly. Works with the county sheriffs to evaluate and bring forward the concerns of the Assembly County Sheriffs to better assist them in the performance of their duties. The Coroner's Office Committee takes on the oversight functions for the coroner's office, investigates complaints, and works with the coroner and his staff to improve their service and capabilities, record keeping, and end-of-life services. And then here is the Litigation Committee. Works with Assembly members who have active litigation concerns to assist them with asserting their position with respect to the foreign courts and educating them to avoid entrapment. Now, it's also that the national citizens will come through the litigation committee first, and then the litigation committee determines they have the authority to be able to ask for more information, to be able to see how to be able to support that Indianian that is at least papered up. It is also the litigation committee that would be able to, through reviewing that information, could be able to determine if they wanted to go forward with bringing it to a case. Okay? So the litigation committee has an impact on the court process and the jurors as well. All right, so we have the militia assembly. All able-bodied members of the assembly 21 years of age and above are expected to actively support the militia in one way or another, either as active militia or serving in supply communications or administrative positions. Okay, so there's various roles and support services that can be provided through the militia. Militia can be referred to as community response team to those outside of the assembly, because they have a hard time with the term militia because it's been given a derogatory now because of all this programming that's gone on. So the assemblies, all the state assemblies, and the federation, well, it is the federation, has come together and determined that the term community response team is something that would be more palatable out in the community to be able to support. And that is what is going on. It is true. We are supporting the community. It is a response to what's going on in the community, and it's a team that's doing it, right? Our assembly militia will soon maintain a schedule for training, conduct exercises and business unique to the militia. Okay. So then here are some more special committees specifically for the militia. There's the membership committee. Evaluates candidates and vets them for specific jobs within the assembly militia, seeks to encourage participation in the militia, understanding of the militia's role and support of the militia's functions. Then there is the Provisions Committee. Provisions Committee acts as the quartermaster for the militia, evaluates needs and means to meet those needs for equipment and other provisions needed to carry out militia duties. Okay, so that Provisions Committee, what are they going to do? They're going to be connecting within the community for the connecting with the sheriffs, and the community response teams, right, to see what tools, what support services are they going to need out in the field. And then it's the Provisions Committee that is going to start rallying for support from Indianians to be able to help meet those needs, right? Whether it's actually arranging to allocate the actual resources and materials or the funding to be able to allocate those resources and materials. Then it's also the logistics to get those resources and materials to those that are requesting it. Education Committee develops tests and educational materials and programs to train militia members. Operations Committee develops short and long-term operational goals for the state assembly militia, creates plans to implement projects and goals, evaluates militia readiness, acts as oversight for the militia, works with the Ombudsman Office to resolve complaints related to the militia, works with the Peacekeeping Task Force to coordinate joint operations with constitutional sheriffs and Continental Marshal Service personnel. Okay, so yes, assembly officers are needed at state and county level. All right, so ASC armored up with participation agreement, assembly vetting, assembly election, background check, and federation vetting. Federation vetting will continue until the federation releases to the state level through positive experienced results from currently operating office holders. So it's merit earned based, not popularity or status quo based. Okay? So, and that's how, depending on how things go, will determine when the federation then will support releasing. They have no intent on continuing on to be the babysitter. That's not the purpose. It's to teach how to do it correctly so that we all can get moving forward and start getting on with things, getting on with the business. Okay, so let me make this one a little bit bigger. So here we go into separating out the two and the requirements. So to be an active participant, okay, so you can be on the calls and come to things by presenting the birth certificate, 2 witness testimony, 1779 Declaration of Naturalization, bare minimum, okay. And some presented their full 928s prior to the 1779, and that's fine as well. Okay, so, but as a state national, you have no dual loyalty, even though you're by this point, once you're actively participating, you should have all these things peeled out. Okay? Alright, so you have your bare minimum here. Then there is the common carry declaration, canceling the voter registration, the 2 revocation of election to pay taxes to D.C. and New York. If you were in the military, there's a severance process. The licenses, depending on what the licenses are. If it's a CDL license, as long as you're not actually working for a federal municipal district, so forth, then you would be considered a federal person. You can still operate with the CDL. Just note that in the time that you are driving, you are operating in that capacity. Therefore, in that time, you are subject to the rules of CDL procedures, right? Okay, but then once you're out of the truck, then you are back acting in the capacity, because it's not a federal, municipal, territorial type of issue. Credentials, if desired, it is required to do the Sign in America study course, that is going to give you in-depth jurisdiction knowledge. You need to know this. This will help you with supporting you with helping course correction with yourself, with those in your community, with supporting those coming new participants coming through the General Assembly, and help with the course correction of Indiana. It's a big part of helping your knowledge base. And that is a requirement as a state national that's a participating member. Then, of course, there's the participation agreement on the assembly record. Just decide you're going to participate one day and make commitments that you're going to say you're going to hold up and do these things, do this, and this, and then don't hear from you for months, and then all of a sudden, hey, whatever happened to that? We still have to follow the process. Okay? Then there, of course, is the letter of intent to join the General Assembly if you're choosing to participate with the General Assembly, even if you're wanting to be a juror. And again, all Indianians 21 and older are are eligible or expected to participate in the militia assembly. It doesn't mean that they're actually going to hold specific offices or things like that, but it is the community, right? Okay, so then the difference to ASC is that, and of course both also, depending on what the roles are, will determine whether a background check and federation vetting will be necessary. But with as an ASC standing state citizen, you'll have all the above, the entire 928 bundle. Many seem to think, well, if I just present the deed and cancellation of prior power of attorneys, that's enough. Or if I present the deed and the cancel of power of attorney and the mandatory notice, that's sufficient. No. It's called a bundle because there's 6 types of documents within there that are in a flow in the way that they are for a reason. The deed is bringing you back on, the living man, and all your names back on the land from the moment of your birth. Certificate of assumed name is so that you're recording that you're taking authority to operate using and being responsible for all those names to conduct any trade that you feel you need to. The acts of expatriation are expatriating not you, the living man, because you, the living man, never patriated into any U.S. corporation. You had no idea. It is the all caps vessels that you, the authorized representative, is expatriating. And then you are doing the cancellation of all prior powers of attorney, the living man or woman. And then it is the mandatory notice of Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. And then it is the paramount claim of the life, which ends the bundle because not only because you started with the deed that brought you, the man or woman, back on the land from birth, the paramount life estate is to claim from the moment of your parents joining in marriage, because even in the Bible it says that God knew you before you were even in your womb. So it's claiming everything even back to the union with your parents before you were even in the womb. Okay? So it's the entire bundle. There is a purpose for the entire bundle. And then also include the declaration of political status process. That is not just getting the declaration of political status notarized and recorded. Once you get it notarized there, and it needs an embossed seal, there is a cover letter that goes with it, and you send it some form of tracking for your proof of mailing, and then you present the proof, the declaration of political status, the cover letter, and the proof of mailing. You present it for your record, for your LRO member record, and that's for the U.S. Secretary of State. It gets sent to, and the birth Secretary of State. And then there is the fee schedule, because you need to have, as a citizen, you should have the standing and the authority to issue the fines and fees that are in the schedule, in the fee schedule. All right, so this is a big one. Now I gotta bring this down. So this gives a better idea of what statuses can be held, whether as in a state national or state citizen role. And the requirements for each role are here in order to meet these. Okay, so this will be this and the next one, because the next one is for county level. Okay, so the chairman, speaker is an ASC level, vice chair is ASC, treasurer is an ASC, marshal at arms, militia coordinator, veterans coordinator, justices, counselors at law, continental marshal, coroner, and bondsmen are all state citizens. State national, secretary, librarian, historian, outreach coordinator, ombudsman, moderator. And then I wouldn't need, because the moderator would be able to support in the assembly calls, but I still would be able to be there as background. State recording secretary can be ASN. Assembly notary, ASN. Again, all the paperwork from above has to be dealt with. This is state recording secretary, assembly notary. We're dealing with records, so there is a background check, and there is vetting and state assembly vetting and federation vetting. Jurors can be ASNs. And Sign in America, ASN. Alright. But again, has to be free of all the contracts and all the requirements from above. Okay. And the reason these are ASN is because they have to be able to interact with those that are not national state citizens. Okay? To have that communication with. Okay, county level. State citizen, militia director, chairman, vice chair, treasurer, marshal at arms, veterans director, committee of safety director, justices, counselors at law, sheriff, deputy sheriff, bondsman, and coroner citizens. Okay. Nationals, county director, outreach director, secretary, librarian, historian, moderator, county recording secretary, jurors, ombudsman, and Sign in America coordinator. Okay? And again, even though you would be building on your county, for example, Lake County is growing tremendously. Lake County would be able to start filling some of these roles at this point at a county level. But they still have to, at this point, still go through the federation vetting process because the state isn't up at that point yet, and you will still have to go through the federation level vetting process. Okay. So, question, what are the 4 pillars? The General Assembly, International Business Assembly, Jural Assembly, and Militia Assembly. And the only ones that have to be all armored up state citizen is the Business Assembly, International Business. All the others are ASN and ASCs. All right, Assembly Etiquette and Participation Agreement, Points of Order. The Indiana Assembly has adopted points of order for assembly meetings in order to provide guidance to the standards of conduct, honesty, and integrity expected of all participants in the assembly concerning their duty under the public law. Provide openness and accountability necessary to reinforce public confidence and stability to the way in which the men and women of Indiana Assembly perform their public duty to the whole, self-governance. Our American form of government is not a democracy. We're owed a Republican form of government, which requires either a unanimous vote or a 70% majority vote. This is a question on the final knowledge review. Okay, so key points to remember. Conscience must be free and clear of any outside influence when voting on any order or motion. There are 7 principles of conduct identified by the Committee on Standards in Public Life. Selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, leadership. Okay, there's a link here, and here is what that looks like. It's 6 pages. So you'll be able to go there and read through each one of the categories to see what do each one of those. We just start with selflessness. Okay. Holders of public office should make decisions solely in terms of the public interest. They should not do so in order to gain financial or other material benefits for themselves, family, associate, friends, or colleagues. The men and women of the Indiana Assembly will avoid and resolve any conflict between themselves immediately in the best interest of the Indiana Assembly. We are a self-governing body acting with love toward each other's unalienable rights. Okay, so we're finding a clear example of office holders receiving money while in office. That would be the resident. Okay. So again, here is the link here, as well as it is on the the indianaassembly.org website on the right side menu. So the question is, what is the purpose of the points of order? Selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, leadership, and harmony. The participation agreement. The Indiana Assembly participation agreement and affirmation of purpose and conduct is required to participate in the General Assembly motions or orders. We view ourselves as a community of self-governing, we the people, as opposed to the corporate model that we have all been indoctrinated into believing is normal. Okay, so the Assembly participation agreement and affirmation of purpose and conduct, the link is here. It is also on the right side of the website, as well as here is what that looks like. And this has been updated. Now, if you already have and it was called a member agreement at the time, if you already have one on the record, no need to update unless you wanted to. But a member record or some form of an agreement needs to be on the record. So think of it as something like the personal mission statement that you were asked to make. It simply reinforces your commitment to the goals of the Assembly and puts it on the record that you're willing to work towards the lawful reconstruction of our government. So we have a window of time to fix this. Consider the efforts being made here. We can only skim the surface in these 6 classes to provide a very basic foundation of knowledge to help prepare you for joining us in reconstructing our true government. We ask you to please make a commitment to daily study, seeking out answers regarding how you will self-govern and what that requires. We the people are the actual de jure government. Will you put in the effort to properly reconstruct our lawful government, no matter how long it takes? Will you complain and give up? Or will you focus on the bigger picture of the lawful reconstruction of our republic? What is a republic? Republic, a form of government where the sovereignty is vested in the people and is delegated to the servant government. The de facto is the servant government. As well as we delegate to the business assembly. But it's really more so because the servant government is, because there still has to be the democracy. We just have to get them back in alignment right here. So democracy, a form of government where the minority has no rights and the majority doesn't need them, because it's mob rule. Videos available with explanations of what a republic and a democracy is. Republic versus democracy. What is the real form of the U.S. government? Here's a link. It's a short video, less than 15 minutes. And then here's a link where it was a search of different videos on republic versus democracy. And getting that clear in your lingo, because many, and sometimes it still can be easily to do, of saying, yes, the republic, but we got to save the democracy. No, it is a issue for the democracy. We're bringing back the republic, right? All right, so we have resources here. Of course, Anna's blog article site. Search Anna Von Writes. That's a huge tool to be able to do search of her over 4,000 articles. Then there's also the TASA site. That's where the templates are. There's also there's how to chart your course, more information on steps of how to support your peeling out. States American, this is the educational information tab. Terry weekly puts out that challenge to new American state nationals to go to that tab daily and start at 10 minutes a day just reading something on there. And as you get comfortable, increase it, right? Do what you can do to continue your educational studies. Also review. Here's a brief report from Anna that goes through it. Here is the Declaration of Flag document that was signed by James Belcher. It's lengthy, but it's very informative. Of course, Anna's books. She has Disclosure. She has Disclosure 101 was the first one. Let me go to the little camera so make me a little bit bigger here. Disclosure 101 is the first one, where it was a compilation of her articles to bring the history together. And then there is Then there is the something is wrong when an affidavit of probable cause. Okay. She has also the Federation has also supported putting together the Blood Money series. And so there's other books out on the for the ASN store. Okay, so let me get back to this. Okay, so, and of course, all the links for her books too, where it's a PDF. So you have a free PDF to go through it at that third link where it's the educational information link. So before the next class, review the information in the PowerPoint and the attached documents. Review the points of order document. Review the assembly structure list. Review the participation agreement, print it out, autograph it, seal it, scan it, and email it to the coordinator. And here is my main email address to be able to go ahead and send it to. Alright, so we'll open up any questions at this point. Okay, so I got a question here. Wait, State Secretary of Indy needs a copy of my declaration of political status? Yes, you're sending. Yes, that was in the in the paperwork stuff. It was a copy of the Declaration of Political. If it's fine to send it now too, because you have to send it to the U.S. Secretary of State and the birth date. But yours may be going to the same place anyway, if I'm thinking correctly for you. If I think you are who you are. Okay. But yes, the Declaration of Political Status, there is a process. The Declaration of Political Status gets a notary and you want an embossed seal. So if you were to go to a State of Indiana public notary, State of Indiana still allows for embossed or the stamp ink stamp. Some are just not doing it because they don't want to pay the cost of purchasing those seals. They say they don't always need it. It's not worth the cost for the notary to purchase those seals. So they just don't get them. So if you do come across a notary that doesn't have the embossed seal, by all means, make sure you get it to me. I can put the assembly recording seal on that as well. I did send the 928 to the Council of Affairs. Okay. I didn't know about that. Okay, but all more information I'm sending. Yeah. Also, I'm going to be adding a template to the template tab. Which let me go ahead and show you that as well. Hold on, let me go there. Because I did some updating with links. Let me get It should come up for you here just a moment. It should work its way. Okay, so here at the top for join templates. So I've got a few things here. Okay, now, so I'll be adding here, the point I was coming here for too was that I'll be adding here because there, you can also be able to send a letter to, that's your declaration of political status. You can also send it with a cover letter for it to the Assistant Secretary of State for Consular Affairs, Bureau of Consular Affairs. So I'm getting that template out because it calls for some of the, well, see now when I update, that's been changed. So I've got to get this updated to some of these things, but you'll still put in your particular county's information, but I'm going to have the state level of state of Indiana listed in here. Okay, so look back here for that. I'll work out trying to get an update in as well of when I get that posted up there. Okay, so, and this is a good place to be able to come to some of the tools. There's an updated notice of intent fee schedule that includes all the combined federal and municipal codes. So, helpful. Okay, so you did send it to the Bureau of Consular Affairs for your 928s. Okay, so you'll probably want to send your, we'll get you going on your, get your declaration of political status sent there too, and to the, but your birth Secretary of State, given the nature of yours, I don't want to pull it up because it'll screen share that, and I don't want to give that out for you. But it may end up turning around given where it's at. Even though it has its own place, it's still different. Okay, let's talk. All right, make sure we send out an email. But as long as you've sent it to the U.S. Secretary of State, that's the main piece. Right? Okay. Moving forward, if you wanted to update, you're more than welcome. All right. So that should be, any other questions while we're here before we go relative to what we talked about? And I know it's kind of lagging, so I have to remember to take a moment because I can end up cutting off and forget about the lag. All right, so that's pulled up, so that should take a moment. You'll email me. Okay, sounds good, dear. We'll get it worked out. Okay. All right. Peace and love, everyone. Let me turn some of this off so we don't have so much. We'll turn off display. I'll make me a little bit bigger. Don't have to be so big, but it'll take you a moment to catch up with you all. Let's see. Oh, I just read that again. It doesn't need to go to Indiana's Secretary of State because you weren't born on Indiana unless you were born on Indiana. Okay? It's for your birth state, Secretary of State. Excuse me, if that helps. And I know and I have this set where it's not, because it has an option of whether to add a delay or not, and I have that set to not include the delay, but it delays it anyway. All right. Hopefully I've caught that piece before I close out. All right. Peace and love, everyone. Take care. Have a great night. See you on the next call. Love to you all. Thank you.